If you've never heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, and I'll explain really quickly. My favorite part, it's free. There's actually creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer if you want. It will actually distribute your podcast so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, and many more, and you can actually make money from it without any minimum numbers of listeners, and it's everything that you need to actually make a podcast in one place. So do this, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. In this episode, you'll learn about Sam's upbringing, what he experienced when he first came to the United States, and all the hard work that he's actually put in to get to where he is today. So I hope you enjoy the episode, and I hope you all are safe and well during this unprecedented time with everything that's happening with COVID-19. I can't wait to talk to you after the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blaze Your Own Trail podcast. This is your host, Jordan Mendoza, and I've got a very special guest on the show today. His name is Sam Bakhtiar. And Sam, just for the audience, I just want to have you give a quick intro on, kind of who you are and what you do.
Well, today I'm the CEO of the Camp Transformation Centers. We are an international franchise that we serve 120 locations. I'm also CEO of 1% Nutrition, a supplement company. I'm a father. I'm a husband, and I'm just an immigrant that came to this country for an opportunity.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that. And so in hearing that, most people that are listening will assume that you're a pretty busy guy. So again, I wanted to say thanks so much for taking the time with me today. So, one of the things I'd love to do on the show is really rewind, right? Because you've got a lot of success today, but I want to really paint the picture for the audience of kind of, what your upbringing was like and a little bit of the journey that has led you to your success today. So if you wouldn't mind, can you tell the audience kind of, where you grew up, what your childhood was like a little bit, and then we'll kind of jump into some other questions.
Well, Jordan, I was born in a third world country called Iran. And, Iran has always been in some kind of a conflict in the Middle East. It's always some kind of a war, some kind of a drama. And it wasn't any different when I was born. I was born and soon after that, my parents split up when I was 3 years old. My dad came to Canada. I never saw him again. And then soon after that, we went to war with Iraq and Saddam Hussein. And every night, man, I mean, we heard sirens, there were bombs, and it's not like the United States. When you go to war, you actually hear the war, you actually see the planes and you see the bombs and things like that. So that was my early childhood. And my mom didn't want her only son to die in the war. So we packed up our luggages, one luggage, $500 in one luggage. And we came to the United States in 1985 as refugees of war.
Wow. So got to the States in 85. So can you tell me a little bit, when you were in those moments, right? When you're literally there, like you said, you hear bombs, you can hear the planes. I'm sure you saw smoke. You probably experienced deceased people. I mean, you're in the heart of it. So as a kid being in there, what were some things that kind of went through your head on some days?
Honestly, man, it's weird to say that, but I wasn't even thinking about the war. I wasn't, I just knew that, I was born into war. So I thought that was just way of life. So I didn't know, anything other than war. So, as soon as I remember, we were at war, we were getting bombed on, there was some kind of a conflict. And I didn't know anything different, So a lot of people say, well, do you have PTSD from your childhood or things like that? I don't know. I don't know if I have that or not. I just know that, it's something that I experienced, and I don't remember exactly. I was too focused on school and too focused on playing soccer, to focus on anything else.
Wow. And that's amazing because, like you said, a lot of people would think there were some repercussions by being in an environment like that, but it's amazing that you were able to just kind of, adapt, right? And then play sports and kind of keep your head out of it. Now, was your mom foundational in that mindset, do you believe?
You know, my mom was always too busy working as a single mom. So I was around my grandpa and grandma a lot, and I just knew that nobody in our family liked the regime, like the Iranian regime. So we always talked about the regime and how they're messing up the country, and all that. But I was too busy, like I said, studying and playing with my friends and playing soccer to realize, man, anything was wrong.
Okay. Well, and that's definitely awesome, man. So you get to the States in 85 and you get here one luggage, $500. So what was that initial experience like? And I know you dealt with some poverty when you first got here.
Well, it was shocking because when my mom said we're going to go to the States, I was I did some research, and see, where we're going to go, how's the United States like? And I was started watching some American shows. Back then, there were shows like Dallas Dynasty and the 18, and those was like the Kardashians of today, where everybody has like mansions and Bentleys and swimming pools and all kinds of stuff. So I thought when I come to America, it's going to be like that. And they never showed the ghetto. They never showed the rough neighborhoods. And crazy, the only relative we had was my uncle, my mom's brother. He picked us up at Pittsburgh Airport and took us to a little town called Sharon, Pennsylvania, which is in the middle of nowhere, PA. And we were the only minority in the entire region. And my uncle had a convenience store literally in the worst neighborhood I've ever experienced. Brick roads outside his convenience store were pimps, prostitutes, drug dealers. We saw people get shot, on the street, all that kind of stuff. And that was my first, you know, uh, experience of what United States was. I was like, wow, I thought we were going to, Beverly Hills, but we came to where there was brick roads and abandoned buildings and prostitutes and drug dealers outside.
Wow. And you're like, hey, this isn't like any movie I've seen, right? I'm sure it was a big shock. So how long did you live in the Pittsburgh area?
I live in the Pittsburgh area. Uh, I'm going to talk graduated from Penn State. So I went to high school there. I went to college, there, and then I moved to California in 1996 after I graduated from Penn State.
Okay. And so you graduate. So what did you study at Penn State?
Well, I studied pre-medicine and nutrition because my mom always said, Sam, you have to be a doctor if you want to be successful. And so I studied pre-med and nutrition, but the whole time I fell in love with working out. I fell in love with body transformation. So I took all the classes that taught me anatomy, biochemistry, nutrition, you know, um, everything that I need to know to be able to get my body stronger, faster, leaner.
Okay. That's awesome. And so is that kind of when you fell in love with exercise and nutrition, working out?
Yeah, I fell in love with it actually after I got cut from the eighth grade basketball team, and I told my mom I want to go back to my old country. I said this country's not good. I don't have any friends. Everybody makes fun of me. I didn't make the team. So I went to my mom said, no, we don't have that choice. Go to the boys club and get better at basketball. Try it next year. So as I went to the boys club, I saw these people in the weight room, and I'm like, wait a second, I want to look like that. Back then the Arnold movies were hot, the Rocky movies were hot, and I wanted to look like them. And I started working out, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it because not only what they did for me on the outside, my physical, I started developing a little baby muscles, developing a little bit of strength, but what it did for my self-esteem, what it did for my confidence, and how it made me look at life a whole different way. And that's when I knew that I wanted to do that for everyone else.
That's awesome. And so you started getting some muscles, you started getting a little bit more confident, and then you finish school, you come out to California. So what was that experience like going from, Penn State coming out west because as you know it's a whole new world, right? When you come from the East Coast to
Brother,
the West
you're
Coast.
not lying. So, I'm from Sharon, Pennsylvania, where if you make, $2,000 a month, you're doing very well there. Very well there. You can buy homes for 30, $40,000 in some neighborhoods there. So So I was used to that. I mean, you drove anything more than if you drove a Honda Accord or anything better, you were a drug dealer. So after that, I came to Los Angeles to go to grad school. And when I got to LA, I was like dumbfounded because I've seen all the cars that I've dreamed about just everywhere on the road. BMWs and Mercedes and Porsches and Bentleys and Ferraris. And I mean, my mouth was like, what is going on? I can't believe this. Like, I've never seen a car like this. And it wasn't like anything crazy. It was just like a Mercedes. There's like one Mercedes in the whole town, and that's an eternity or something, you know? Um, so right there, it expanded my mind of what was possible. Wow, wait a second. These things are possible because when I was in a small pond, those things weren't possible. I was like, there's no way I can ever get like a Mercedes. Like, there's no way I can ever have that. I went to the mall for the first time. I went to a mall called South Coast Plaza here for the first time, and it's like a very high end mall. And Jordan, I couldn't even, I didn't even, almost didn't make it to the mall because I was outside just staring at the cars and looking inside the windows like a creeper. So I was like, I was just salivating. I'm like, I cannot believe these cars exist here and people are just driving them. Then when I finally went to the mall, I was even more dumbfounded. I was like, wait a second, a t-shirt costs $80? Oh my God, a shoes cost $300? Like, to me, that was like, who buys that? It was beyond my imagination, beyond what I was used to. And again, it expanded my horizon. Expanded like, wait a second, making that kind of money is possible. Having those things is possible. So the environment always, always extends you or decreases you. You know what I mean? So that's what I always say. If you want to change your life, you change your proximity, you change your environment. It's hard to do the right thing in the right in the wrong environment.
Absolutely. No, and I can relate to that, man. I grew up in North Portland, Oregon, and very similarly, we were on food stamps, and a lot of it would really was predicated on, like, my mom was born with one lung, and so she was a woman that, for her to do anything physical, for her to have a job, it really wasn't possible because she was on oxygen, and she raised five boys somehow, right? And when you're in those environments, I can relate to that a lot because I remember thinking when I was a kid, I was like, I'll probably work at like the department store. Like that's like what success is going to look like for me. And it wasn't until I got a sales job and I started traveling around the country and I started going to new environments where it was very similar to you. I looked at it and my perception changed,
Yeah.
right? It was literally like a paradigm shift when I started seeing things in a new light, right? When you get out of those environments that it really gives you kind of a scarcity mindset, when you're like, well, I guess this is what's going to be like, right? But when you have that shift, and it really is a shift in your mindset, it's crazy what can happen.
That's great. I know. I agree 100%.
And so tell me a little bit. So you got here, you went to graduate school. And so after graduate school, what was kind of your first step? When you graduated, you finished all your coursework. What did you say to yourself that you were going to start up?
So I graduated. I literally gave my diploma to my mom. And I said, all right, mom, go brag to all your Middle Eastern, friends that your son is a doctor because that's what you wanted. But I want to open up my own gym. I want to change people's lives through exercise and nutrition. And I had $20,000 saved up. Um, and with all the years of working as a personal trainer and as a bouncer at Penn State and all that kind of stuff. Um, and then I needed another $20,000 to start. And I borrowed that $20,000 from my mom. I had $40,000 to start. Getting started cost me $35,000. And I only had $5,000 in the bank the first day I started. And I had $30,000 due in 30 days. So I had no choice to start hustling, to start becoming a salesperson, to start becoming the best marketer. Because if that business would have failed, I would have to move back to Pennsylvania with my mom. And to me, that was never a choice. That was never an option. I put myself in a situation where if I lost, I would have lost big. So I had no choice to perform. And I think in life, sometimes you need to put yourself in a position, uh, burn the boats, burn the bridges, so you can look back and you can't go back. They always say, well, you got to have a safety plan. You have to have a safety plan. You know, I don't believe in that. Especially if you're young, you have a safety plan if you have family and you have, other, responsibilities, things like that. But if you're young and you want to go after something, burn the boats, burn the bridges, go all in, focus, make shit happen.
I love that, man. And I love that attitude and that mindset, right? Because like you didn't have it, there was no other thing. You weren't going back to Sharon, Pennsylvania, right? Like that wasn't an environment that you wanted to go back into. And so I love the fact that you just said, you know what, I'm going to hustle, I'm going to grind, I'm going to sell. And so what year was this? Just for some context.
This was year 2000, right at the beginning of 2000,
Okay.
February of 2000.
Okay, so this is 2000, so this is still early internet, right? This is so when you're talking about selling and hustling, like you're knocking on doors, probably, right? You're going to businesses, you're doing it the grassroots style, and that's really where got good at sales was that face to face communication, hearing 100 people tell you no every day, like being out there and grinding. So can you tell the audience a little bit about how that experience for you was, and then also I would love to know if you believe it was foundational in your success today.
Well, absolutely, it was foundational. Because if you want to be successful, you just have to talk to as many people as possible and knock as many doors as possible, and you have to learn the interpersonal relationship and skills. Some things that just cannot be done online. I'm sorry. You know, um, and so the way I marketed was I would just walk every weekend like 10 miles in the hills, and I would put a door hanger in every home, because I couldn't afford to send it through the post mail, and I would get 4 or 5 to 10 calls. I would be so happy, but literally, 10 miles every weekend. I did that. We started, putting up, body fat analyzing stations, across in the malls or in department stores or grocery stores. Sit there all day, 8 hours, talking to people and taking their body fat and see what we can do for them. Cold calling, just cold calling, offering people free personal training sessions on body fat analysis, just getting in front of them, showing them value, showing what we can do for them. It wasn't as easy as it is today when you can put an ad and there's 100 leads that you have right in front of you. It was literally like you actually had to do physical work.
That's it, man. And I really believe that that's where you're built, right? You're built out in the field. You're built hearing people yelling at you, like, "Quick, like get out of my grass," right? Like, you just woke up my baby, all those things. Because I started doing door to door sales at 14. And when I tell you it was probably the best thing that I could have ever done at 14, because it set the foundation on my sales career. Because hearing no to me is like, okay, that's great. Next opportunity, right? That's what no stands for to me. It doesn't mean like I'm going to go cry on the curb, which I wanted to do at 14 when I heard 50 people tell me no. I did want to cry, but I came back the next day, right? And there's something big about showing up,
Yeah,
especially when all the cards are stacked against you, which was your situation. So I love the fact, man, that you hit the pavement. You laid the foundations or the tracks, if you will, that probably really were instrumental in your business starting to grow.
I had no choice. I really had money, and like I said, if you always have a choice, you always have a plan B, then you're never going to give plan A everything you have. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
never plan A. If you always are, have one foot in, one foot out, and you never give that 100% to what you're supposed to do and what you really want to do. I knew that my passion was transforming people. That's always been my passion. To this day, all the books that you see, they're either nutritional books, self-help books, or business books. I'm all about transforming. I'm all about becoming better. I'm all about evolving. And I want to show what I've done for myself to other people. To me, nothing is more fulfilling than helping other people become successful.
That's awesome, and I definitely love that, man. That's definitely says a lot about your character, right? Especially from coming from humble beginnings and literally starting your business from the ground floor up. And so, I'm really interested to hear when you opened your first gym. I want you to for the audience just describe what that feeling was like. Getting that first set of keys, hiring your first person, your employee. What was that experience like for you?
It was just crazy because now I'm making big boy decisions for the first time. And I'm like scared out of my mind. I'm like, oh my God, what if, what if, what if? And for people who are listening to your podcast, if you just go, what if, what if, what if, you'll never go anywhere in life. If something doesn't scare you, then, it's not going to make you grow. If it scares you, it tells you you're getting out of your comfort zone is something you need to do, and at the time it was crazy. I wrote the first check I wrote was for $35,000. I just borrowed $20,000 from my mom. I had $40,000 in my account. The first check I wrote was $35,000. I'm like, holy cow! I'm like, what am I getting myself into? Oh my God, I've never written a check over $800 before that, and that was for my rent. you know, and now we're writing big boy checks, so it's absolutely mind boggling.
Okay. And so you open up the gym. What was that 35 grand? So just for the audience, what did that all entail? Was that covering the cost of the space? Was it some equipment that you're financing? What went into that 35 to get you started?
So my first gym was inside of LA Fitness. LA Fitness didn't have their own personal trainers back in the day, so they subcontracted the company to take over their personal training, and the company paid rent. So the $35,000, all that included was the first month's rent and security deposit.
Wow.
So the rent was 35. The rent was 17.5, and so that means that in 30 days, another 17.5 was going to be due plus payroll. I needed trainers and managers and things like that. So I hired people. I'm like, shit, I hope I can pay you in 30 days.
Right. And so what was it like? Was this your first time like having this big of a team?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was a one man show before when I was in school. It was me as a personal trainer training clients one on one. There was nobody else. And now I'm having 5 or 6 trainers that's going to work for me. I have a manager that's going to work for me. I have responsibilities. And for 5, 6 years, you know, in business, everybody, had a life. Everybody drove nice cars. All my trainers had nicer cars, nicer clothes, and they actually, went out and did things. For the first 5, 6 years, I worked 70, 80 hours a week. I kept driving my old beat up Honda Civic, and I really didn't buy anything for myself. It was I was just on. I'm like, oh my God, I just need to save because I need to make sure I pay everybody. Now all of a sudden I became this responsible person because other people's livelihood and life were in my hands.
That's awesome. And so, can you tell me a little bit about that first team that you had? And I'm sure along that 5 or 6 years, there was some attrition. There were people that left and maybe opened their own gym, hopefully. But
Absolutely.
so, what was it like? What would you think are some things that lessons that maybe you learned with that first group of people that you managed to your team actually expanding and then having to manage a larger group of people?
The biggest lesson I learned is that, when you get a team, the most important thing is for you to be able to relate your culture, your vision, and your mission as a team. Everybody needs to work as a team for one mission and have that single vision to be able to strive for. Another thing I learned is to learn to hire, hire basically slow and fire fast. Which I always did the opposite thing. I see somebody, oh, he's good, oh, she's good, oh my God, they look awesome. Okay, you're hired. And then they don't perform or they don't show up, and I give them second, third, fourth, 10 chances. And it used to be so frustrating. So I made a lot of mistakes, with the team in the beginning. I've learned a lot. I've never had management, roles. I never had nobody taught me that in school. It was all trial and error, and I messed so many things up, so many things up, Jordan. And I look back, I'm like, oh my God, have I had a mentor from the beginning? Have I had someone to guide me? Have I had better circle of influence? Have I had a board of advisors? I would have been a billionaire, not a millionaire.
Well, and that's probably a great lesson, right, for you to learn. And
Okay,
when you look back, I'm a really a big believer that we're a sum total of all our failures as long as we learn from them in life. Like
100%.
that's that's where we get our success. Is we went through this and we're like, well, if I would have did that, like you said, from millionaire to billionaire, and it's so crazy how small of a tweak or how minute of an ad sometimes it is that
Yes,
really can kind of push you over that edge.
yes.
And so now you've got 100, is it 110 locations?
110, 120, somewhere between that.
Okay, so just a couple, right? Got a good amount of locations. So how is operation life now, and are you heavily involved in all the gyms, or I know you franchise them out, I believe. So how involved are you, and what is similar from that first team to today as far as culture, vision, mission? Is it exactly the same, or kind of for the audience, what kind of tweaks have you made?
No, we have evolved, man. Business is always evolving. You always have to tweak your mission statement, your business statement. You have to, constantly tweak your procedures. Business is a live animal. Where you constantly have to evolve with the times, constantly have to evolve with the technology, constantly have to evolve with your people, and making sure you stay on top of all aspects of your business. So our business before is nothing like our business now, and our business now will be nothing like our business in a couple of years. And that's why you always evolve. If you don't evolve, you dissolve. Same thing that happens with like Blockbuster Video. You have to stay constant changing. You have to, you know, uh, dedicate yourself to improvement in all aspects.
Absolutely. And I know you're involved in social. I know it seems to be something that you enjoy. And what would you say the biggest difference is from you were the social media, meaning you're the human walking on the pavement and knocking on doors, versus now where you can literally create a piece of content and it can reach hundreds of thousands or millions of people?
Yeah, I often laugh right now when people say, "Well, it's so hard today to get leads. It's so hard for me to get in front of people." I'm like, wait a second. Back in the day, man, we had yellow pages. Back in the day, like I said, we had to put an ad in a magazine and then hope somebody called, or walk for 10 miles and put 2,000 door hangers, hoping I get 5 calls. Now you can go in there and put a video and get 20, 30 DMs in a matter of minutes. As long as you are doing it constantly, as long as you are having a unique selling proposition or a unique product, not just a me too, as long as you're authentic. I think this is the best economy. This is the best marketplace. This is the best era for you to launch a business. But the problem is that most people are just copying other people. Most people are trying to be somebody they're not on the internet. Most people are just like flexing on Instagram, and they're not being, authentic to themselves. My pastor says something that always stays with me and says, "You know what? You were born an original. Don't die a copy."
Wow.
You
And
know,
that's super powerful.
Absolutely, man. And I always remind myself, no matter who, no matter what, I am who I am. You know what I mean? You when people see me, in person, like, wow, you're the same person that on Instagram, and most people are not. And I do. It's got to be only one way. I wholeheartedly believe that the only person that I really need to focus on pleasing is myself. And what I think about myself is ultimately more important than what anybody thinks of me. Because I have to take myself to bed every night. I have to feel good about myself every night. And the other person, obviously, is the man upstairs. I got to make sure that he's happy with me and I'm doing good and all that kind of stuff. But other people's opinion, doesn't really matter. A lot of people just care so much about how many likes they get or how many comments they get and how popular. We have a society right now that people are just always on Instagram posting and flexing and doing podcasts and they're fucking broke. They're broke and I'm going like, wait a second. How can you dedicate so much time to podcasting? How much so much on Instagram and all that kind of stuff, and you really don't have any money, you can't pay your bills. Well, let's focus on for you paying your bills first. Let's come up with a hustle. Not trying to be popular on Instagram, not trying to be, interview people. I'm all about that. But let's take care of the first thing first.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, and I think it's a great extension of your brand, right? It's another way for you to reach and impact people. But I think you're right, and I think you have to have a career path, right, or a business or something else besides just a show, right? And so I really enjoy that you said that. So my field, I do training and development, so I'm involved in creating content. I teach a 6 month leadership program, and it's in an industry that's property management. So our company, we own and manage luxury apartments across the country. And as you know, right now, apartments, it's a big industry, right? Because if you we have people that say, you know what, instead of a home, I'm going to go where maintenance is taken care of. Like, I don't have to cut my grass, I don't have to do this. So our industry is really thriving. So in the area that you're in, what have you noticed about apartments and how they've really changed and from when you first came to the states to today?
Overall, when I first came to States, apartments were like shitty apartments. It was like when you were living in an apartment, it was like, oh my God, you're poor. And now we live apartment, man. It's like, no, we got super wealthy, people live in apartment because they just don't want to, like you said, they don't want to deal with the house. They don't want to deal with HOAs, and they don't want to, cut the grass, and they want to live somewhere where everything is taken care of. Some of these apartments, man, I mean, they're just, wow. You know, um, I wouldn't mind living there. If I was single, I didn't have, a bunch of kids, I wouldn't mind living in an apartment where everything's taken care of and then all I can do is concentrate on work. So,
Yeah,
so yeah, the apartments have changed so much over the years. It's not a
yeah,
man's home no more. It's a real place for people to go. And, apartments now have amazing, offices and amazing, basketball courts and pool and tennis and butlers. Some of them have butlers. It's just I've seen it all.
yeah, yeah. It definitely has, and that's really we build a lot of high end stuff, and it's amazing. We're getting $6,000-7,000 a month for some of the rents, and that wasn't happening back in the '90s. It was, if you lived at one, people actually looked at you in a certain way, but now it's like, oh, you live in an apartment, cool. So definitely it's been a big culture shift, and I think a lot of it
Right.
has really been attributed to people wanting this live work play lifestyle, right, where you can have people over to play pool, you can go swimming at your pool, and then you can walk to the restaurant next door.
Exactly. There's just like restaurants and shops right below and all that. One of my friends, I was, it's like paying $25,000 a month
Wow.
for basically an apartment, and it's obviously, in Beverly Hills and a high rise, and they have everything right there. They have a robot that comes in and brings their stuff. I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
Absolutely. And so, one of the things that I teach in a leadership class is an emotional intelligence class. And one of the things that I've noticed, when you're a practitioner, when you're learning and when you're taking in this information, and then when you really understand what it's all about, it's very easy to see people that have low EQ. And I know you're familiar with the topic. So, what are some of the things that you've noticed in certain people, whether it's they're famous or just a friend or a relative, that have higher EQ versus lower?
You know, I found that EQ is so much more important in life than IQ.
one Hundred
You know,
percent.
you being able to adjust to a situation and be able to remain emotionally stable and be able to take in a situation, don't react or overreact, and just analyze it, and then, you know, react and do things accordingly. There's so much value in that. We live in a world that everybody is always reacting right away, always, losing cool. And the person who can remain calm under pressure, the person who can be able to think clearly under pressure, and when the world is closing down on you, when everything's coming at you, be able to uh, function at a high level. That's the person that I want on my team. I always think of EQ as, for some reason, for me, whenever I think about EQ, James Bond comes to my mind. The 007. I grew up watching that. It was one of my favorite series. And I always remember, people are shooting at 007. There was bombs, this and that. He always remained cool, and he just acted accordingly. You know, I've seen Floyd Mayweather in the ring, where he is the guy's coming and he's boxing in the ring, and he hears somebody commentating, and he's having a conversation with a commentator while he's boxing in a match. That to me is emotional intelligence. For you to be able to be so cool under pressure, to be able to still perform at a high level.
That's absolutely right. And it's almost one of those things that it's almost like a sense sometimes, when you meet somebody that has really low EQ, because their actions, it's almost like you can see them, as they're
Erratic.
happening. Yeah, it's very erratic. And a guy that comes to mind was a phenomenal tennis player, but Peter McEnroe. Super, super low
John
EQ, right?
McEnroe. John McEnroe.
Sorry, John McEnroe. That's right, John
Yeah.
McEnroe. But like super, super low EQ. I mean, the guy couldn't control himself, and it got him in a lot of trouble. And it painted a picture not only with the people that were at like
Oh,
playing against him, but
oh,
for everybody.
I remember John, man. Gosh, man, the guy's always breaking his tennis and always arguing with the empire, and you know it's crazy. I don't know about you, but as I got older, my EQ has increased. What used to bother me doesn't bother me as much anymore. And also, whenever you go through so much adversity in life, then your EQ increases. Because then, if you overcame adversity over adversity over adversity over adversity, then you're like, hey, those things didn't kill me. Neither shall this. You're able to stay cool under pressure and be able to perform. So, have I not gone through so much adversity, I wouldn't build so much wisdom, and my EQ would have been a lot lower. Somebody who has not seen anything, has never been through adversity, they're going to automatically have a lower EQ than somebody who has.
You know what? It's crazy you say that, man, because it really makes a lot of sense now. So before I was 19 years old, I had in fourth grade I got stung by 53 bees and lived to tell about it. In seventh grade, I got beat up by police. I was falsely arrested. They thought I was a Hispanic runaway. Bruised ribs, just beat me. And
Wow.
then at 19, I got in a car accident. We flipped 3 times going 70 and had to have 52 staples and laser surgery. And I lived to tell about it. And I really, when you said that just a minute ago, it was like, that really does make perfect sense because the lens that I see life through
Yeah.
is way different than if I never would have had those experiences. And so that really, really makes a lot of sense. And so what are some things that are on your agenda? I know you said your business is always evolving. You're always looking for the next thing. So, what are some things, maybe some behind the scene things for the audience? And you'd have to go into super detail if it's super secret. But I'm just interested, kind of, what you're thinking about in terms of your business growth over the next decade or so.
Well, I mean, my answer is going to surprise you. I'm at a point in my life that, I pick my battles. And to me, nothing is more important than time. And nothing is more important than spending that time with my family and my children. So, whenever a business opportunity or something comes to my mind, I automatically analyze it. Is this worth my time away from the family? Is this worth my time to work on? Because I'd rather take this time and be with the family. And 99% of the time, the answer is no. So I've learned to, as I got a little bit older and wiser, to simplify everything and not try to chase 100 different rabbits. You know, I chase one or two rabbits and I go all in those two things. And then the rest of the time, I focus on what really makes me happy, which is spending time with my children and my family.
That's awesome. And so how many kids do you have?
I have three. So I have a 10-year-old girl, a 6-year-old girl, and I have a 8-month-old baby boy.
That's awesome, man. Well, congrats on the newest edition, 8 months in. So I'm a father myself as well. My wife and I, we have two boys and two girls, so
Oh, four.
four.
Oh, God bless you.
And and June 30th, we're expecting another boy. So we're gonna have three
You're a
boys, two
stud.
girls. We got a starting five. So if you're a
You're a
basketball
basketball
fan,
team. Yeah.
right? Yeah, we got our basketball team, man. But fatherhood, being a parent, it's such a blessing, and you learn so much about yourself, right? Like that's been the biggest thing for me. Like I'm 39, my wife is 37, and so we're kind of the young parents. Well, now we've got this new one coming, so we're not going to be the young parents, right, for much longer. But just watching them grow and seeing the transitions and their personalities come into life, man. What a rewarding experience it is.
It is, and to me, that's what I live for. I really do, and so I've learned that simplification is the ultimate form of sophistication. Sophistication. You want to simplify life. You don't want to. You want to really concentrate on making sure you're playing the right game. If you're running around, chasing all these things, and you next thing you know, your son doesn't even know you, your daughter doesn't even know you. How good is that? So I never want to play the wrong game. I don't want to be on my deathbed and say, well, I wish I wish I went after this venture. No, I'm like, no, I wish I'd spend more time with my kids and got to know them more and play with them more.
I love that, man. And I love that about your character. And I'm sure your kids are really going to love the fact that they know their dad. Dad was a part of these experiences that, as at these ages, I mean, they're instrumental. The father daughter dance, being able to I just went to my fifth grader. She's 11. It was her last father daughter dance that we just had. And that's a little emotional, right? Because it's her last one, and our other daughter's 8, and so she's got a couple more to go. But yeah, it's super important to really be a part of their lives and to also make a positive impact where you can.
Okay, yeah, I 100%, man. 5, man. I'm you are a stud. So you have the Escalade, you have the big one. Which
Yeah,
one do
we,
you
we get
drive
we're
first?
gonna have to upgrade our SUV here soon. So I think
Yeah,
it's seat 7 or 8, but yeah, we're gonna need one of those big church buses, church vans, probably at some
yeah,
point.
for sure, man. I have one of those, so they definitely come in handy.
Absolutely. All right. So as we wrap up here, you've had this really amazing journey from starting out in the war, coming to the states with a and seeing a different picture than you saw in the movies, and then finishing up school, fulfilling your mom's dream of being a doctor, and now really building this amazing business of over 110 to 20 gyms. So if you could, with the audience, what are maybe the three tips that you can give for anyone that's out there that wants to start their own thing, right, but they want to do it right? Because the way that I've seen you do things is it's been great. It's been cool to learn about your journey, because every time you've really had these pivots, right? These like moments where you've shifted and you've made the necessary tweaks that have really gotten you to where you are today. So what three tips, and if you can think of more, that's fine, but that you can share for someone maybe want to start their journey?
First thing first, I would say the biggest factor will be just start. It's never going to be a perfect time. A lot of times we'll wait till everything becomes perfect. We're waiting for the sun and the moon to align in the right place in the right time. Kind of like everyone, wants for the perfect time to start a diet. There's no perfect time to start. You just have to start. Some people aim, never shoot. I always say, shoot, then aim and course correct along the way. But if you don't shoot, nothing ever happens. So action trumps everything, and if you make a mistake, no big deal. Learn from it, move on. That's just going to be life. You are going to make some mistakes, and you're going to decrease the chance of making mistakes, by getting mentors or talking to people who already done what you want to do. So it's like a shortcut to your success. The second thing is going to be, I don't care what business you're in. I really don't care what business you're in. You know, you gotta have a relational business, not a transactional business. In this day and age, no matter what you're doing, there are 100 people within a few mile radius that are doing the same thing as you. You're not unique. So people don't care about what you know until they know how much you care. So if you treat people relationally all the time and take care of them, you are going to be successful. But if you just treat people like a transaction, like there's a dollar sign to them, you'll never get anywhere. Third, if you're going to start a business, make sure you know what's your KPIs. KPI stands for key performance indicators. What numbers are you looking at? What you need to be? What is your stay open number? What is the cost of acquiring a customer? What is the lifetime value of your customer? What is your total overhead? These are some things that you need to know, because if you don't know your numbers in your business, you basically are driving around blindly and you don't know what to do. What doesn't get measured can be managed.
Love that, man. I love those tips. And for the audience, write those down, right? I'm definitely gonna make sure I write those down, because I think, like you said, those can help anybody. It doesn't matter if you're, selling pianos, if you're, a rapper, anybody. I think those three things are foundational. So I really, really appreciate you sharing those with the audience. And Sam, again, I really, really appreciate your time today. I thank you so much for being on the show. And just in closing, where can the audience find you? Because I know that people are going to listen to this. They're going to say, man, what a unique story and journey. And, I might want Sam to help my business out. So where can people get a hold of Sam?
Sure, it's really easy. You can Google my name, Sam Bakhtiar. That's Bakhtiar. Or you can text me directly. I have a direct text line. It's 909-200-4015.
Awesome. Well, hey, again, I really appreciate your time on the show today. It's been awesome learning more about your story, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing more from you here in the future. Wow, what an awesome episode with Sam Bakhtiar. What an amazing guy. What an amazing journey. And he is living proof, folks, that if you put your mind to something, you can absolutely accomplish it. You are going to have roadblocks. You are going to have things in your way, but ultimately, hard work really trumps everything. If you want to accomplish something meaningful, it's going to take that hard work to get there. And I really love the fact that he said, what does the next decade look for him? Well, it's spending more time with his family. So I really, really loved his priorities. I hope you all enjoyed that episode with Sam. And if you liked it, make sure you subscribe to the podcast if you're not already, and also tell your friends about it. Don't forget as well, if you have an iTunes account, please, please, please rate it, review it. That will definitely help us be able to reach as many people as possible. Thanks so much for listening, and I can't wait to chat on the next episode of the Blaze Your Own Trail podcast.